Heck. Okay, so this is a continuation of the reading of David Webb's book called The Great Taking. And what I'd like to do is start again. I tried to do a live feed a couple of minutes ago and ended up stopping the feed and starting over. Don't ask me why. So here we go again. This is 8. Um, my audio levels sound pretty good. So let me know in the chat how it sounds. And typically what I do is I take 1 hour every Friday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Central Time to read the next passage in David Webb's book called The Great Taking, which, was a term that he used in response to the Great Reset. So we had all heard about the Great Reset, and he's like, actually, this is a great taking. This is a taking of our financial stability. This is a taking of what it means to be human. This is an all-out, full-on, rights grab. This is everything. This is circumventing laws that are in place, especially for financial instruments. So when this book was gifted to us last year, towards the end of 2023, I thought, man, this would be a great time to go and do a reading of this short book. Typically, when I do these readings every Friday, between 10 and 11 Central Time, I also include some commentary that is personal to us or commentary that is relevant to what's going on in the world right now. So what's happening in the world right now is that last night we had the State of the Union. And there was one particular comment that Joe Biden made in the State of the Union address. It's only about 7 seconds. And what he says is that the COVID-19 vaccine is now being used to treat cancer. So I'm actually going to play that 7 seconds for you. And hopefully you won't miss it, because if you blink, you will, because it's only 7 seconds long. It was captured and then it's been trending all over Twitter. So what I'd like to do is address the response to that statement as opposed to the statement itself. So let's go ahead and share that screen. Now, last week when I tried to share a screen, and this was maybe one of the reasons why the first attempt to go live and do this broadcast for part 8 was so quickly stopped, was because every time I shared a screen, the feed would go away and you guys wouldn't be able to hear anything. And there was some problems with hearing what was being broadcast. But hopefully you guys will hear this. So let me go ahead and share this 7-second clip of Joe Biden saying that the COVID-19 vaccine is now being used to treat cancer. And take a good look at that face, because that's going to be, that's relevant to something that I'm going to say in a few minutes. I'm going to try to go through this quickly so that I can begin reading the next passage in the book.
Vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. The vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. The vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. The vaccine.
Okay, so I wanted you to hear that 3 times, because I was always told that you need to repeat something 3 times for people to really, truly absorb it. And since it is only 7 seconds, I thought the best way to do it would be to play it 3 times. So once again, the vaccines being treated for COVID, or the vaccines that we used for COVID, are now being used to treat cancer. That's what he said in the State of the Union last night. let's take a look at what another presidential candidate had in response to that message. So this is from your favorite person. Basically, what he said was, the pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccine that saved us from COVID are now being used to help beat cancer, turning setbacks into comebacks. Well, you're welcome, Joe. 9-month approval time versus 12 years that it would have taken you. Okay, so this is Trump just being, it's just tomfoolery. He's just being Trump. Okay, there's really no value to his post on his platform called Truth Social. Who really cares? I mean, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want to respond to all the people that are responding to both candidates, both Trump and Biden, by saying, no, 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 the vaccine isn't treating cancer, it's actually causing cancer. So you're being gaslit. Okay, it's just classic gaslighting. So let's get rid of that and let me go to the next screen. Hold on one second. And I'll show you what I said. Okay, so I tweeted this morning because I actually didn't watch the State of the Union last night. I just read through some tweets about it this morning, and one of the things that really grabbed me was that 7-second clip. So here's what I said. So if you read at the top here, what I said was, everyone knows that politicians believe that us free-speaking peasants who demand the constitutional republic remain intact are a cancer to their precious fascist democracy. So this is really important that you understand like what words mean. So right now we live in a democracy, unfortunately. Democracy usually means that it benefits, corporations, it benefits the people with all the money, and then us peasants are left to really struggle. But we were allegedly founded as a constitutional republic. So we live in a constitutional republic, but we're operating as a democracy, unfortunately. It's just like, we have the platform Google, but we use YouTube. YouTube is under Google, just like the democracy is under the constitutional republic. Like if you were to look at a graph, just like Twitter is under the platform X. So I wanted to throw that in there that, it's important that we know what words mean. So we live in a constitutional republic, but we are operating this constitutional republic as a democracy. And as you can see, I'm not a fan of democracy. So because of its actual, what it's rooted in, which is corporatism, fascism, and all that. So we're a constitutional republic operating as a democracy. Let me get rid of that screen. But unfortunately, the individuals who were really upset by I'm trying to make this screen smaller and I can't figure out how to do it. The individuals that were really upset by Biden's 7-second statement, that the COVID vaccine is now treating cancer, those individuals don't seem to understand what was really being said. And my point, which is that you have to pay attention to what words mean, and the type of people that are speaking the words is really important. So once again, I had to sort of school individuals, and here it is. Here's my tweet. Let's see. I just have to find it. Let's see if I can find it. I'm sorry, guys. Just bear with me here. Okay. It's a Peter McCullough's tweet. He's really upset by what Biden said, and he goes, if you can see this tweet, I'll try to make it bigger. I don't think I can, though. COVID-19 vaccines did not save anyone in the RCTs or valid observation studies. No mRNA platform has been successful in cancer. In fact, mRNA and COVID-19 vaccines cause cancer. Okay, so this is basically what everybody is saying, and y'all are falling for it. That's what's so sad about this. So let me show you what I said to him. So there's my response. You can see it. When Biden made the statements that COVID-19 vaccines are now used to treat cancer, he was talking about people. We are the cancer. So in essence, yes, they are successful in ridding their privileged fascist world of the cancer that interrupts their goals. So when Biden came out and said the COVID-19 vaccine is treating cancer, he's not wrong, because psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists consider those people that describe them, they consider them cancer or cancers. They're getting in the way. So let me take that down, and we will bring in another screen, which goes into sort of another type of situation that took place last night. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm having trouble with my... I'm just trying to get to a point where this screen isn't so big, and I don't know how to make it smaller. So another strange thing that happened last night was that I found myself tripping over, or actually this morning and a little bit last night, is I found myself tripping over tweets from individuals that I don't follow. And every single one of them were talking about how amazing Joe Biden is and how incredible his speech was. And they were all liberals, and they were all fairly famous. They were either the media, or they were famous people, or they were assets on social media with lots and lots of followers. And one of those individuals is John Cusack, and he's just doubling down on this. He is, for a long time, he has been talking about how we can't have Trump. Like, he's just been insane with this idea that if we have Trump, that it's the most, that the whole country is going to fall apart. And he's just been absolutely doubling down on this, on this idea. And it's almost as if he has a gun to his back. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But one of the narratives that is really popular now, which nobody should be surprised by, is that, everybody keeps saying that Biden delivered this energetic, clear-headed winning speech. Okay, you don't need to read the rest of it. That's pretty much the general consensus among these assets that, I swear to God, it's like they have a gun to their back. For a while we had Rob Reiner, who was famous, coming out and talking about, how Trump is a danger to our democracy, and how his followers need to be shut down, and they should all be, lined up against the wall and all this stuff. I mean, he was saying these really, really crazy things on Twitter, and now he's kind of faded off and backed off into the fog. And in his place, you have John Cusack. And it's almost as if Cusack was told, like a note was slipped to him, in between maybe scenes he was recording for like his latest movie or his latest show or something. It's almost like he was told, if you don't do this and you don't get on board, then you're going to be Me Too'd, then you're next. Because the frenzy around his tweets is just over the top. Like, for instance, look at this one. If this is not a cry for help, look at this. March 7th, 11:45 p.m. Dude, get a life. Get off Twitter and go have a drink or go, hang out with people. But look at him. Help me out. He has this idea that he's being um, silenced by Elon Musk, or that his tweets aren't getting out. And of course, all of his tweets are like either Gaza or Biden, Gaza or Biden, Gaza or Biden. That's it. He's just like insane with this. And look at him. He's so pathetic. He's like, help me out. Like he has a gun to his back. Like, that's a cry for help, right? So this is really kind of weird to me. This narrative keeps popping up with him. This idea that he's being squelched by Elon Musk. Meanwhile, he's got individuals who are responding to him that are saying, dude, I don't even follow you. And your tweets are the only ones I see. So he's gaslighting his followers. He's gaslighting the public by claiming that he's being squelched, or claiming that, the algorithms are not in his favor. He's gaslighting everybody when he's always on my feed when there's some sort of, political thing going on. And because of the State of the Union last night, he is the only person I see on my feed, practically. Him and a whole bunch of other like famous people, actors, media people, assets with lots and lots of followers that are just like, we have to have Trump. I mean, we have to have Biden. We have to get Trump out. Let's get Trump out, And it's like, where did all these people come from? I don't even follow them. And that's what was clogging up my feed this morning. Let me show you another example of a desperate John Cusack tweet, and then I'll move on to my next thing I want to talk about, which is a little more fun. This like sense of urgency. Look at this. It's worth spreading this. Trump cannot be allowed to regain power. It's like I said, it's like he's got a gun to his back. And these tweets are coming in fast and furious. They're not coming in like, once every couple of hours. They're coming in once every 5 minutes. So there's something going on. Like I keep saying, it's like he has a gun to his back, and he's got to play the role now, or else maybe he'll be Me Too'd, or maybe he'll be found in a hotel room with a pile of drugs around him and, suicided or something. He is like sweating bullets on this platform, So I feel kind of bad for these people that put so much value into something that's, we've already discovered and proven over and over again that's rigged, right? But you've got these assets, you've got these people who are, basically they're in with the establishment, and they have to play the game. They have to do it. It's worth spreading this. Trump cannot be allowed to regain power. I feel so bad. I mean, John Cusack, it's like everybody's favorite guy from High Fidelity, or what was the other one? Say Anything, or Bullets Over Broadway. I mean, stick to what you do best, dude. And that's playing the romantic lead. I mean, serendipity, right? So I feel bad that these people have to focus all of their energy and talent into this. It's really sad and pathetic. But I guess it'll keep him from being Me Too'd. So, moving forward, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that we had been talking about for a long time. And when I say we, I mean all of us. I mean you and me and all of us. And this was regarding a fear-based narrative. So I'm going to flip it on its head a little bit. What I've witnessed from individuals, for the last 4 years who don't seem to have a problem with anything that's going on, they're basically like, Yeah, so whatever. They're not running out to take a vaccine or wear a mask or do a thing because they're afraid. They're just doing it because, whatever, it's what you do. So, I I wanted to kind of flip this narrative on its head. It sounds to me like the people that are describing the situation as it is, that, whoever you are out there, that you're afraid. This is going to lose me every follower, but it's like you're angry and you're afraid. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the fear-based narrative that you keep talking about, right? You keep, you keep saying that that everyone else is afraid because, and so they're running out to get a vaccine or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, like especially in San Francisco that I know, it wasn't fear that made them go get a shot. It was just something that they did. They were just like, well, I'm just going to do it, you know? And then they just went about their lives and they're not even focusing on anything. So, what I want to do is I want to talk about um a show that JP and I um started watching, and I have to bring it up. So because I lost the links to it when we went down earlier. So it's called Resident Alien, and it's really funny. And of course, those of you who are uh, who are anti Netflix will be upset that I'm watching this show. I really don't have a problem watching it. I don't believe that Netflix is pure evil. I think that some of the stuff that they put on Netflix is really funny. So let me see if I can find the link to it. So it was from the first, second, and third episodes, and I'm just going to play short, tiny little clips. Season 1, episode 2. Season 1, episode. Sorry, guys, because I lost my links. I got to do this. Let's see. Alien versus Kid. Sorry about that. Let's put this on mute. And so let me get this one up. All right. All right. So this one is up. I know you can't see anything, but I'm just getting it together. Let's see here. Okay. And then so what happens is this alien crashes into Earth, and he finds himself having to integrate into the human race, and he doesn't really understand the human race, and he has to pick up all their quirky qualities, and he has to be human, and he ends up like killing this this individual who he has taken over. So he's taken over the not the body, but he's been able, through his advanced alien technology, he's been able to form himself into this body. So the show is called Resident Alien, and so let's see, he's on his way in this particular scene. He is on his way to kill the only person that can actually see him for who he really is. All right, so there's a point that I'm making here, right? So let's go ahead and share that screen. Okay, so again, this is about an alien that comes to Earth. He takes over the form of a doctor, and the only person that could see him for the alien that he really is this child who is completely terrorized. And so now, because he's afraid that the child is going to give away his true identity, he's like, "Well, I guess I got to kill the kid." So he, that's what this scene is about.
Do not make a sound. That's good. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to kill you. Oh.
Max? Hey, what's going on? There's an alien under the bed! Let's go, sweetie.
Come on, buddy. No more stories, okay?
It's not a story!
Max, I can't do it, okay? Can't have another night with no sleep. Let's go.
No!
Max, you can sleep with us.
Do you want to die?
We're not gonna die, Max. I'm gonna give you the count of 3. Get down.
No!
There's nothing under the bed. 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
I told you not to let him watch those movies.
I watched E.T. when I was his age.
Sorry.
Okay, so that was basically the premise of the story, is that this alien needs to kill this kid, right? So what you need to understand is that this kid is the only person that can see this alien, and nobody believes him. He's gone to every adult, and he's gone to some of his friends. He ends up like wearing a tinfoil hat. It's really kind of funny. So he knows the truth about this individual. He knows the truth. And once you know the truth about a person, then you might end up knowing the truth about their agenda, right? And so that's what the alien is afraid of, because the alien is there to destroy all of civilization and all of humanity. And so he doesn't want this kid to go and tell people, that he's really an alien. So he has to kill the kid. And he definitely doesn't want it to get out that, what the agenda is, right? So does this all seem familiar? Like, there's so many people out there that are describing people as they are. I do this all the time. I just describe people the way they are. And, I end up getting scapegoated, or I end up getting gossiped about, or, whatever, or treated badly. No one will believe me, because they believe that, the psychopath that I'm describing, is actually really nice, because that's the image that they portray to the rest of the world. So, there's a lot going on with this little kid who's pure of heart, who sees the alien for what he really is. He's describing the situation and nobody believes him. You can apply this to any situation in your life. You could apply it to the COVID operation and the COVID situation, for all those people out there that are describing it as it is. and how certain sections of the population just don't want to believe them and just refuse to see it for what it really is. So the next scene is not found on YouTube. It's not found anywhere, but I did find it on this weird little website where they play little clips at a time. So I'll set it up for you. The little kid goes into the police station and he's like, "You guys have to believe me. This person who you think is really cool, like the new doctor in town, he's not. He's an alien, and he's really an alien, and you have to believe me." And nobody believes him except for the oddball of the show, who happens to be the deputy. So what I'll do is I will try to play these little clips for you and share the screen. Now, this is what the deputy looks like, and you can't find these clips anywhere. But I feel like in order to understand where the kid finally ends up psychologically, mentally, and all that, which is in a good place, you have to see this clip. All right. And I'll set it up for you. So once again, he's at the police station. No one believes him except for this deputy. And I'm going to play these clips. They're captured. They captured the episode in like 1 or 2 seconds each. So you'll have to just kind of follow along.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So
Yeah.
One of my skills as a deputy is to work as a sketch artist. So if you describe the alien to me, I could draw a picture of him.
Great, then I can get the word out. Great, then I can get the word out. Okay, start with his eyes.
Okay, so you get the picture, right? So he goes to one person who finally believes him and says, "Let's start with his eyes," And so she ends up sketching out the alien for him. And they take the picture that she sketches out and they put it all over the place. Just like so many of us are telling the story of the COVID operation or any operation. And we are sharing it as many places as we can. So it was just that one adult that said, "Hey, now, wait a minute. I believe you. Let's work together to get this information out, And so by doing that, it gave him some confidence. It finally made him feel like he was being heard. It made him feel good. The pictures of the alien as he really is were all over the town, plastered on poles, on walls, in windows, like they were everywhere. And so the kid was feeling really confident and he felt better, which put him no longer in a fear-based place. He spent the first episode of the show just being terrified, just running. Like basically you just have this kid running around town screaming his head off because he sees this guy who's really an alien and no one else can see it. And he's going absolutely banana cakes, right? So I feel sorry for the kid at that point because we've all been there where it's like we see something so clearly and we're wondering why no one else is getting it. Kind of like when I said, Joe Biden wasn't talking about how COVID-19 vaccines are a cure for cancer. He was saying that COVID-19 vaccines are a cure for those cancerous peasants that keep getting in my way, especially those people that still want to live in a constitutional republic. Thank goodness we have the COVID-19 vaccine to get rid of them, those cancerous little peasants, you see? So let's see where the kid ended up when he actually has a face-to-face confrontation with the alien.
Good morning, dickhead.
You can't call me that. That's a nasty word.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shit for brains.
You're inappropriate, and you stole my flyers.
Do you want to put them back up? Go ahead. No one believes you anyway, not even your parents. Tell people I am an alien. Climb to the highest tower in town and shout it to everyone.
We don't have towers, you dumb alien.
No, I know that it was a figure of speech.
No, it wasn't. Oh my god, you actually thought we had towers.
I did not.
You're so stupid. Hi, I'm an alien, and I think it's castle times and there are towers.
I was testing to see if you thought there were towers, and you're lucky you passed.
Well, I'm gonna go to school now.
Wait,
I hope a tower doesn't follow me, because we live in make-believe times.
you're the one who thinks there's towers. Dickhead. Asshole. Asshole.
Okay, so the kid does often what I do in life when I'm with, in a situation where I'm just like, I have to go stand over there now. So the kid's basically just like, you know what? I got to go to school now. So that's the attitude that we should be taking with, some of these horrible things that we are becoming aware of through, just through our own investigation, or even just by what they're telling us they're going to do. Like, even if the alien were to say outright, I am here to obliterate all of humanity, the response to that should be, I have to go stand over there now. Not to be so afraid. So again, so I want to thank the people that are joining today, and I wanted to just kind of bring all of that to the front of this before I continue to read the next section of the book, which is called The Great Taking by David Webb. But to recap what I did talk about at the beginning, number one, there was a State of the Union address last night. And for 7 seconds of a 90-minute speech, Joe Biden said that the COVID-19 vaccines will cure cancer. That's not what he was saying. What he was saying is that the COVID-19s have successfully taken out human beings. That's what he was saying. Because these individuals who are psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists, they don't look at us as they look at us as vermin. They look at us as the cancer to society. And so they have been successful in taking us out. Having Peter McCullough and all of these, experts in their field respond to the actual words using their vast knowledge of science or medicine is not appropriate. When you are dealing with a psychopath and a narcissist and a sociopath, when you're dealing with people that want to kill you, you either have to do like the kid did and just shrug them off and say, I've got to go stand over there now and do a workaround, or you've got to meet them where they are, and sort of, create a version of a psychopath yourself. Like, you have to get into the mind of these people. They're not lying. They're not playing games. They're psychopaths. And so you have to really, truly understand the nature of a psychopath, the nature of a serial killer, the nature of a sociopath in order to appropriately respond to them. So that was the first thing that I talked about. And then the second thing was that it felt really strange this morning when I was on Twitter for like 10 minutes, that all of a sudden my feed was just clogged with people that I don't even follow. They're liberals that were supporting Biden, but not only were they supporting him, but they were in this frenzied state as if they had a gun to their back. They were sweating bullets. They were like, it's the best speech we've ever heard. Oh my goodness, he was so on point. He was perfect. Right, right, right. And they were just hysterical. It was like every actor, every media person, every asset with a lot of followers, especially John Cusack, was clogging up my feed. And so instead of responding to them and saying, no, that didn't seem like a very good speech, it didn't seem like a good speech at all, instead of responding to their words, I'm responding to this weird, like hysterical sense of urgency that seems to be based in fear. This idea that if they don't get these tweets to the top of the feed, then man, they are going to really feel it. Like somebody is going to, kill their dog or me too them or something like that. Something bad will happen to them. That sounds pretty fascistic. That sounds pretty scary to me. So I started to feel something that I haven't felt for these individuals ever. I started to feel sympathy for them. Like, what kind of a life do you have, John Cusack? You're this amazing talent. You've brought so much joy to so many people, especially women. I'm not going to lie. He's easy on the eyes, right? Even as he ages. What is wrong with you that at midnight, you've got to send out a tweet that says, help me out? That's a cry for help. What is going on here? It's like the poor guy has a gun to his back or something. And it really bothered me to see that. And I shared it earlier. So if you're just joining, we'll let this broadcast end in a few minutes when I'm done reading, and then you can go back and watch from the beginning. But there's something going on in this world that these individuals have to get to the top of the feed. They have to be the thing that's seen or heard and retweeted. It's almost like they have to have a certain amount, like they have to meet a quota. And if they don't meet the quota, then they might lose a thumb or something, or lose a pinky finger, or their dog will get stolen, or they'll be Me Too'd or something. It seems really strange to me, this kind of, sense of urgency, this behavior that I'm not used to seeing. So that was really off-putting to me. And so that was the second thing that I noticed regarding, this was all around the State of the Union. And then the whole all-encompassing idea of a fear-based narrative, which has been trending for the last 4 years or so, if not longer. I thought a really interesting way to show how to get out of the fear is by playing these 3 little clips. So an alien lands, from the show Resident Alien, he tries to take over the town. But there's one little kid who's telling the truth. Nobody believes him except for one homely deputy who's like, okay, I'll go ahead and sketch it out. And he puts the pictures of the alien as the alien really is. He's describing the alien truly to the world at large. This bothers the alien. This gives the alien, the alien starts to get nervous. Oh no, what if people see who I really am? What if they can figure out my true agenda, which is to destroy all of humanity? Oh dear, oh me, oh my. He gets really scared. The kid gets a little bit more confident in he develops a swagger, and he learns how to handle the alien. This thing that's literally trying to kill him. This thing that just 24 hours earlier or 48 hours earlier had crawled into his bed. A little kid crawled into his bedroom and put his alien hand over the kid's mouth and said, I'm going to kill you. So to go from being paralyzed with fear to being confident and not afraid, I wanted you to show you that transition. And the only way that he got there was because one person believed him. One person took time out of her day to help him describe the truth as it is. So if you have one person in your life that believes you, then you should be not living in fear. You should not be talking about this fear-based narrative. You should just be doing the workarounds and being like, okay, well, I got to go over there now, you know? So that wraps up the first half of the broadcast. So now we're going to continue with David Rogers Webb's book called The Great Taking. And I finished chapter, so we're on part 8. This is the 8th video. And I finished chapter 4 last week. And the very last line of chapter 4 was, "The juggernaut rolled on, and we are all in its path." And so up until this point, David Rogers Webb has been starting every chapter with a Sun Tzu quote. But in chapter 5, which is where we're starting now, he begins the chapter with a Machiavelli quote. Niccolo Machiavelli. "People should either be caressed or crushed. If you do them minor damage, they will get their revenge. But if you cripple them, there is nothing they can do. If you need to injure someone, do it in such a way that you do not have to fear their vengeance." That's a pretty strong quote to start with. So this chapter is called Collateral Management. Let's begin. Associated with the imperative that certain secured creditors must be given legal certainty to client assets globally without exception is the further assurance of near instantaneous cross-border mobility of legal control of such collateral. As we will see, the objective is to utilize all securities as collateral. And again, this is the ongoing theme of the book, which is that there is collateral behind everything. The company or the mortgage house or the bank that we pay a mortgage to is using our house. I'm not saying that they're actually doing this, but in some cases, certain banks are using houses or cars as collateral to balance against the debt that they have with their creditors, so that if they file bankruptcy, even though your house might be paid off or your car might be paid off, it doesn't matter. It'll still be absorbed into the debt that the institution has. That's why he keeps talking about collateral. It's really important that you understand that. Okay, so as we will see, the objective is to utilize all securities as collateral. A report published in 2013 by the Committee on the Global Financial System at the Bank for International Settlements, entitled Asset Encumbrance, Financial Reform, and the Demand for Collateral Assets. And it states the following: regulatory reforms and the shift towards central clearing of derivatives transactions will also add to the demand for collateral assets. But there is no evidence or expectation of any lasting or widespread scarcity of such assets in global financial markets. Excuse me. Another report by the same committee, entitled Developments in Collateral Management Services, states some changes that may raise demand for collateral have not been phased in yet, since jurisdictions operate on different timelines for mandatory central clearing and margin requirements for non-centrally cleared trades. Multiple market participants noted that implementation of mandatory clearing requirements has not yet advanced to the point where those market participants are experiencing shortfalls in collateral readily available to pledge. Motivated by expected increases in demand for collateral stemming from regulatory changes, collateral management service providers are evolving their service offerings in an effort to improve efficiencies and enable market participants to meet collateral demands with existing and available securities. I'm going to pause here for a minute, and I'm going to talk to you about, I'm just going to very briefly bring in Change Health. So Change Health is a clearinghouse that acts as a liaison between your doctor and your insurance company. And so a lot of people don't realize that there is a software program that is utilized by the doctor. They send that service that they just gave you, whether they drew blood or gave you a treatment or whatever. Your doctor will put the information and all the correct medical codes into the software that then goes to Change Health. And then what Change Health does is it synthesizes that information, sends it to the insurance company, and then the insurance company says, yes, we will cover the patient's, blood work, or we will cover a portion of the treatment that they received. And so that's how the doctor gets paid. And of course, Change Health, which is the company that provided the service to both the doctor and the insurance company, gets a little windfall. They get a little fee, a little service fee for what they're doing. They recently locked out all doctors from their ability to file claims with insurance companies, and with no explanation whatsoever, which means doctors were basically frozen out. And so I think what we're looking at is we could be, and this is something that JP and I are going to talk about at 5:00 today when we go live together. If you're going to use a financial instrument, if you will, as collateral, or if you're going to use collateral as a financial instrument, then there might be something to this Change Health story that has more to do with collateral than it has to do with, what the official narrative is, that, terrorists hacked Change Health and held, 6 terabytes of patient data as ransom, and demanded that Change Health and various other organizations pay them like some absurd amount of money, like $21 million. But what I think is really happening is it has to do with debt. It has to do with the fact that somebody has to pay back their lender and they don't have the money to do it. And so the collateral that was used when they took the loan to make these things happen is somehow like baked into like patient data or something. So JP and I are going to synthesize this even more at 5:00 tonight and talk more about this. But it's considered like the 9/11 event of the healthcare industry, and no one's ever heard of it. No one's heard of it. So, and it happened 2 weeks ago, and the mainstream media at least has covered the story, but unfortunately they're going with the official narrative that terrorists attacked the World Tower. I mean, that terrorists attacked Change Health. So, thus, while there was no evidence of scarcity of collateral and market participants were not experiencing shortfalls, demand for collateral assets was being artificially created and intensified by regulatory fiat. It was absolutely not market driven. This was designed and deliberately executed to move control of collateral to the largest secured creditors behind the derivatives complex. Derivatives are financial contracts on everything imaginable and even unimaginable for most of us. They may be modeled on real things, but are not the real things themselves. They are untethered from physical reality, but can be used to take real things as collateral. This is the subterfuge and the end game of it all. So David Martin also tried to talk about this and tried to bring some sort of awareness about how, things were invested into things, but those things weren't really things. And there was like, no, they're there. Catherine Austin Fitts has talked a little bit about special access instruments, financial instruments. They're called SPACs. Somebody that I listen to fairly regularly on his podcast with his other group of billionaires is considered the SPAC king. I don't listen to these people because I agree with them. I listen to them so that I can learn. And so oftentimes if I share things throughout my social media life or whatever, I sometimes have to put the qualification in front of it, retweets or reshares are not necessarily endorsements, but here's some good information. Okay. So there is and I'm wondering if David Webb is actually going to talk about SPACs. He might in this. So derivatives are financial contracts on everything imaginable and even unimaginable for most of us. So on its pages 8 through 11, the cited report discloses the objectives of these collateral management systems, providing further confirmation that it is the linking of CSDs and ICSDs, international. What did we say CSDs were? We talked about this before. Let me go back. I should take better notes. So there's the national and then the international CSDs. Okay. So which provides cross-border mobility of collateral from the collateral giver to the collateral taker. Yes, they really do explicitly use those terms. And here's a quote. First, many of the largest custodians have implemented or have plans to implement a custodial platform that is global in nature. This will be a single system or set of connected systems that allows a customer a single view of all its available collateral held by the custodian, regardless of location. Okay, so this is what in part one of this broadcast, when I started to read from this book, one of the things that we really tried to illustrate for you by using an example was, say, a car dealership. So this will be a single system or a set of connected systems that allows a customer a single view of all its available collateral held by the custodian. So you have terms like customer and custodian. The custodian is the guy that runs the car dealership. He's the custodian of all the cars. He's basically just babysitting them. The customer is not who you think. It's not the guy that goes in and buys the car. In this particular financial language, the customer is actually the person that has given the car dealership the loan and said, "Sure, we'll give you a loan so that you can run a business. But what are you going to use as collateral?" "Well, I'll use all my cars." "Okay, great." So then what happens is the customer, who goes in and buys the car. So let's say customer with a little c, that would be you. You go in and buy the car. The customer with the big C, the one who's in control of the custodian, the guy who's babysitting the cars on the lots and who sells them and all that, he can see where your car goes. He can see how, and this isn't about surveillance. This is just about making sure that he understands that if the car dealership goes bankrupt, he's going to need to find all of that collateral, even if the customer with the little c, that would be you, even if you had paid it off. Okay, so that's what that statement means, is they have an ability to track all of this through supply chain and any way they want, because they're going to want to make good on their debt. The desired end goal of all these efforts is to get as close as possible to a single view of all available securities, regardless of where they are held in real time. The aggregation of supply information is a necessary prerequisite for the efficient deployment of available securities to meet collateral obligations. ICSDs, you should probably Google that term and look it up. ICSDs enable their participants to obtain aggregate views on the entirety of the lateral securities holdings held with the ICSD, including securities held by ICSD participants via link arrangements. The report illustrates the relationships between the ICSD and its participants in a diagram, which is included as a figure on page 32. And then the text continues. This illustrates the services available at ICSDs where a customer or a collateral giver, okay, remember, customer with the big C, is a participant in the ICSD and holds its securities in the ICSD, including via link arrangements between the ICSD and local CSDs. So I think what he's really trying to drive home here is that, you might have an American car dealership that has taken out a loan with a local national bank, but that national bank is beholden to international standards based on these sort of like collaterals as financial instruments and whatever fake laws that they have made to wrap around how they can get away with what they're getting away with. So at this point, the report clarifies in a footnote the entirety of a participant securities include the participant securities that were issued and are held at the ICSD and the participant securities that were issued and are held via ICSD link arrangements at a linked CSD. So the report then turns to the role of, quote, what he calls collateral takers. The collateral takers are participants in the international CSD or the ICSD. Both the collateral giver and the collateral takers provide information to the ICSD as CMSP regarding collateral obligations. With this information, the ICSD runs its optimization process and may automatically generate collateral allocation instructions for the collateral giver and takers based on the results. The ICSD will also process the movement of securities on the books of the ICSD, since counterparties included in the optimization and allocation process are participants in the ICSD. If the collateral giver does not have sufficient securities in the ICSD environment, it can source collateral by transferring securities from its own account or the linked CSD to its securities account in the ICSD, with a free of payment settlement occurring in the linked CSD. So note that transferal of the people's assets is to be made free of payment. They meant not just free mobility of collateral, but quite literally free collateral. How nice. So when they, when they attach the collateral in order to pay the debt, they don't even have to pay a fee to do that. Through collateral transformation, the objective is to utilize all securities as collateral. As supply and demand dynamics for collateral continue to evolve, it's possible that efforts to make more efficient use of existing collateral will not be sufficient to fully satisfy individual obligations. If that's the case, some market participants may need to exchange available but ineligible securities for other securities that meet eligibility criteria in order to fulfill their collateral obligations. Undertaking transactions to achieve this outcome has been defined as collateral transformation. Collateral transformation is simply the encumbrance of any and all types of client assets under swap contracts, which end up in the derivatives complex. This is done without the knowledge of the clients, who were led to believe that they safely owned these securities, and serves no beneficial purpose whatsoever for these clients. And here it is. Here is the automated market-wide sweeping of collateral to CCPs and central banks in a time of market stress. I got to take some water. Sorry. Some of this might be difficult for you to understand. I'm not, I can barely wrap my head around it. So I'm not I'm not talking down to you. I'm not trying to insult people, but it's going to click. One day, all of this is going to click. It's going to, you're going to have that moment where it's all revealed and it makes sense to you, and suddenly you understand what the words mean. So in times of market stress, rapid deployment of available securities may be crucial in mitigating systemic issues. For instance, with better visibility of available securities and better access to them, firms may be better positioned to rapidly deploy securities to meet margin needs at CCPs in times of increased market volatility, or to pledge to central banks in emergency situations to gain increased access to the lender of last resort. The automation and standardization of many operations related to collateral management on a market-wide basis may enable a market participant to manage increasingly complex and rapid collateral demands. So it was CCP was mentioned. No, that's not the Chinese Communist Party. CCP means Central Clearing Counterparty. So again, I really do feel that this Change Health situation, which we're going to talk about at 5 o'clock, is directly correlated to with what I'm reading today, which is very interesting. Now, and I also have been using a term, CSD. CSD in the world of finance means CSD finance acronym, a central securities depository. So oftentimes David Webb talks about CSDs. He's talking about a central securities depository, and then he talks about ICSDs, which is the International Central Securities Depository. So again, CCP is not the Chinese Communist Party. When you're talking about financials, it's a central clearing counterparty, and it's referred to as a central counterparty, a financial market infrastructure organization that takes on counterparty credit risk between parties to a transaction and provides clearing and settlement services for things like, for instance, trades in foreign exchange. Okay? So I wanted to get you away from that other kind of language and continue with this, narrative of how these financial instruments are used to basically act as rights grabs and other things. And so we have been here irrefutably. And so, as we have seen here irrefutably, the objective is to utilize all securities as collateral, and hence to have the real practice means to take all securities as collateral. Comprehensive collateral management systems have been implemented, which assure the transport of all securities cross-border through the mandated linkage of CSDs or ICSDs to the CCPs, where the risk of the derivatives complex is concentrated, and on to the anointed secured creditors, which will take the collateral when the CCPs fail, having assured for themselves that their taking of assets cannot be legally challenged. So this is exactly what happened with Change Health. Inevitably following the, quote, everything bubble that will be the everything crash, once prices of essentially everything crash and all financial firms rapidly become insolvent, these collateral management systems will automatically sweep all collateral to the central clearing counterparties and central banks. The trap into which all nations have been herded is ready and waiting to be sprung. There will be an epic endpoint to the decades of seemingly out of control financialization, which served no beneficial purpose for humanity but the devastating effects of which are apparent even now. It has been a deliberate strategy executed over decades. This was the purpose of inflating the global bubble entirely out of proportion with any real world thing or activity, which must end in disaster for so many, with no pockets of resilience allowed to remain in any country. And then there's a graph that he shows, so that ends chapter 5. And we'll go on to chapter 6 next week. But I wanted to thank you for joining today. I did try to go live at 10, and I was probably streaming for about 10 minutes or less when the feed dropped, so I had to end it and start over. But I think it was pretty comprehensive, and I hope that you got something out of it, both the second half and the first half of this broadcast. Please tune in again today at 5 o'clock. We actually will be on camera. We're going to go on camera, and we're going to go through, in a way that will hopefully resonate with you. Hopefully you'll be able to understand it. We're going to go through what happened a couple of weeks ago with a company called Change Health. And I talked about it a little bit. And we have a little bit of a more interesting and inside perspective on it, because we heard from the actual powers that be, or JP did specifically from the actual powers that be, about what exactly took place. And right now, as it stands, it looks like a big chunk of our medical industry is not able to perform. and whatever your opinion is about allopathic medicine and the corporate industry that it has become, and especially how they operated over the last 4 years, whatever your opinion is of that's fine. But the fact is that there are entire clinics, pharmacies, labs, and all sorts of people that haven't been getting paid. They've been locked out of their systems completely. And so I do believe that this is going to affect the smaller clinics, just in the same way that your little dry goods store had to close down during COVID, and then but yet Costco was allowed to stay open. It's going to be the same thing. A small clinic that specializes in a certain field, or just offers very basic care to for patients, is probably going to close down, but say Stanford will stay open. You see what I'm saying? So this is what happened with Change Health, is this whole business of this clearinghouse failed and locked the doctors out of their entire systems, and somebody got paid. And so this is what we're going to try to dig through. I'm going to try to see if JP can figure out, like, there was, the story goes that the terrorists said, pay us a ransom, or else we will unleash, 6 terabytes of data on the dark web, of patient data on the dark web, which means that your social security numbers, and it's like every other person, basically every person who's ever been to the doctor, like their social security number, their credit card information, their addresses, their phones will be released on the dark web. And so then they could be compromised to, some kind of financial terrorism themselves, like fraud, right? So that's what the terrorists said, give us this money or we will release this information. So I don't believe that any of that happened. I believe that that's a narrative that we're told, just like we were told brown people attacked the Twin Towers with box cutters and airplanes. I believe that's the narrative that we were told. I think what really happened was some sort of internal debt collateral clearinghouse snafu, or not even a snafu, but a purposeful cudgeling of, the industry, because somebody needed to get paid. Somebody hadn't paid their creditors. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I think happened. And so JP and I are going to have a longer conversation about this tonight at 5 o'clock. We will be on camera, so please tune in for that. And we will see you then. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening today.